We got audio.
But it's not.
Let's go there. Let's go there. Profile to
I mean, I think it's quite fun.
I thought it was quite that.
No,
Not just
Yeah, just another year step back. But we'll be having updates and stuff.
I mean to, shake hands, but should I close the door? No, exactly.
Yeah.
Hello everyone. Hi everyone and welcome to Earthsuit. Digital Innovation Season at Central St. Martin 2025. Thank you to everyone that is joining us here and all of you friends joining us online. Welcome to all of you. My name is Betty Marenko. I am a reader in Design and Techno Digital Futures here at Central St. Martin's, where I also run the Contextual Studies program for Product and Industrial Design. It is really my great pleasure to be chairing this session tonight. We are very, very excited to host a remarkable speaker for tonight's event. But before we do that, I want to say a few words about the Digital Innovation Season, which is hosting the event tonight. Digital Innovation Season is a Central St. Martin's platform that takes place every year in February to explore emerging technologies, emerging digital technologies, and their impact on practice or practices. And it is informed by ways of thinking that want to be critical, creative, and curious, relentlessly curious. Digital Innovation Season started in 2020, in fact, during the pandemic, and it was a unique moment of community building, connecting, and learning that brought together a lot of people from different disciplines and courses here at Central St. Martin's to gather around questions, ideas, big ideas concerning technologies, concerning emerging technologies, and to create a space that could be inspiring to collaborate and create new things, to produce different responses, and reimagine also our many different practices together. And with this aim, Digital Innovation Season in the past 4 years has offered a fantastic program of guest talks, lectures, workshops, community building events like hackathon, and activities for students and staff alike, open to everyone at CSM, regardless of what is your course and what are you studying. And we really are very, very proud to have created this unique space where not only students, of course, but staff can come together, connect, find ways of collaborating around common interest and prompts related to technology. And we really believe that to keep on asking questions around technologies and emerging technologies in particular is fundamental if you want to understand the world and the world as it becoming, and also our position in it as practitioners, thinkers, makers, innovators, change makers. And the theme of this 4th iteration of the Digital Innovation Season is Earth Suits. And with this theme, we wanted to explore the history and future of wearables, from augmentation devices and materials to sensors and beyond. With the acceleration of climate change, technological innovation, which is compromising the planetary balance in ways that are unpredictable, turbulent, and really, really fast, Earthsuit has become a moment for us to investigate and to reflect together on how we can use and imagine wearable technologies to adapt to and reconstruct our environments while retooling ourselves, drawing inspiration from huge technological leap that led to space race, but also everyday function, workwear, and uniforms and performance gear. Wearable adaptation, where are they going to take us? Philosophically, Earthsuits engage, therefore, with how to probe the boundaries between human and machine, and with our technologies are redefining what constitutes the human body, human cognition, human perceptions. There is a Digital Innovation Season website, of course, and you're very warmly invited to join us for the last week of event, because the season will conclude at the end of the month with the final talk on the 27th. And I now want to offer our big thanks to the amazing team that is making all this possible. And first of all, Stephanie Sherman, course leader of the main narrative environments here at Centre St. Martin's, the curator of Earthsuit. Stephanie has not only been an amazing force of nature propelling digital innovation season in the last couple of years, in all possible directions we didn't know that were possible. But she's the most energetic and fearless collaborator I've ever had the pleasure to work with, and I can only imagine what next, so thank you, Stephanie. Massive thank you to our wonderful digital partnership manager, Stefan Slonetsky. Thank you, Steph. Who is the person working tirelessly behind the scenes, making sure that everything happens and producing digital innovation season in all these different components that we don't even see. And finally, a big thanks to the Earthsuit Research Coordinator for the Digital Innovation Season and CSM Material Futures graduate, Rachel Pearl. Of course, a thank you to Central St. Martin for the support that we receive constantly. You can follow us on Instagram, not only for the schedule of the final week of the season, but also to get an update on what gets produced, gets done during the workshop, the activities, so to get a sense of the visual research that is being built this month. Tonight's talk is broadcasted live on YouTube and will be available immediately afterwards. And now, it is my really, really great pleasure to introduce this evening guest speaker. We are incredibly thrilled to have with us a bionic influencer, social media personality, and creative Tilly Lockey. Thank you, Tilly, for joining us tonight. Tilly will share a story which illuminates what the body can do, the flexible, adaptive, and extendable nature of the body, and set therefore the stage for Earthsuit, designed for extraordinary humans. And her presentation is titled, appropriately, "The Robots Are Taking Over." Please join me in welcoming Tilly.
Conference was amazing. I mean, here in Nova Spirala, the place is just beautiful, and the whole event, I mean, networking, meeting the people, Matyáš Boháček is amazing, for example.
I really enjoy this environment and people here because it's a very good event. I've met a lot of new people. It's great so far.
It was amazing. This place is like absolutely beautiful, and the speakers were also great.
It's fabulous. I attended last year and it was a lot smaller. This venue is absolutely stunning and it gives the whole event a different vibe.
Everyone here, they're just so intellectual. They just have so many experiences to share. So I think meeting people and making connections is the most important part of going anywhere and to any conference, you know.
I find it the most fascinating stuff I've heard in weeks. It's so cool that we're advancing into these kind of projects that will ease up people that may be disabled or have some kind of negative things in their lives, and we can take care of them.
Our goal really is to make the Czech Republic be known as the place where it is totally normal that high school students can send their own satellites up there.
Hello everybody. My name is Tilly, and first of all, I'm really happy, excited to be here speaking to you. I've been speaking on stages, interviews, Q&As, fireside chats, debates every now and again ever since I was really little. You'll see some slides later of my first ones when I was about 10 years old. But my favourite thing to always speak about is the fun stuff. Like for me, the 3D printed technology and the integration of technology in fashion is always something I'm desperate to talk about. I find myself at a lot of stuffy tech events with tech bros who just want to trade different AI tools. But this for me is one of my favourite topics. So I'm really glad that I'm able to be here and you guys have come here to listen. So I am going to give you basically a deep dive of my entire life as somebody who is directly impacted by technology every single day. And of course we all are directly impacted by technology. It's everywhere, especially nowadays. But for me, I actually wear it on a day-to-day basis, which you might do if you've got a Fitbit or something, or a little phone attached to a lanyard. But having prosthetics has been a massive part of my life. And yeah, something that is pretty niche. So I'm going to share little insights on that, the tech evolution in a just 10-year span, which has been crazy, and hopefully offer some inspiration for what might come in the future when it comes to fashion and technology. So before we do anything, we've got to get right to the beginning. When I was born, I had all 4 limbs. I was a completely happy, healthy baby. I had my older sister at the time, and there was absolutely nothing to tell me apart from her. No sort of red flags or alarm bells. And everything seemed absolutely fine until I was 15 months old when I fell really ill with a terrible disease. Initially, I went to the doctors and I was diagnosed with an ear infection and sent home. But my parents always thought, we think this is something more. So, you take the doctor's advice, but they kept an eye on me. And it wasn't until one night where my nana was changing me that she found this sort of rash on my body. And this was the septicemia rash. All you need to know really at that point is once you see this rash, it is quite literally a race against time. So luckily, my family noticed what it was. And that's a whole other story in itself, which we might get to in the Q&A. But immediately I was rushed to the hospital where there were already about 12 paramedics waiting to take me in. When I got there, they were immediately cutting clothes off, sticking tubes here, there and everywhere. And it was shortly after this that my family were quite literally told that I was going to die. I was given 0% chance of survival, and it was the worst case the hospital had ever seen. For anyone who doesn't know, meningitis is the inflammation of the membranes around the base of the spine and the brain, and that can often bring on septicemia, which is a form of blood poisoning. All you really need to know is that when they get together, they are very much fatal, and they really didn't look like there was much hope for me. My mother tells the story of basically this one guy who would walk past every single day, and she would feel sick to her stomach because this was the guy who basically had the power to say, okay, we're going to turn those machines off, she's not fighting it. So as you can imagine, it was a long time, and it felt even longer because of how absolutely morbid that was. But obviously, I'm here today, and it was after 1 week in intensive care, 3 weeks in recovery, a secondary infection, and 10 blood transfusions that I had to have, that somehow I managed to pull through. I survived, and I'm here today. That man finally walked past, and he said 3 words nobody ever thought they were going to hear. He said, she's getting better. That being said, though, the septicemia had well and truly devastated my body, as you can see. These were literally my hands, which is crazy for me to see. But as you can see, they're really just curled over, dead, completely. And so, yes, I was going to live, but they did say we'll have to amputate our hands. Now, to anybody in the room right now, you might think that's not such a great feat. I mean, I'm assuming when I say I think all of you guys have hands right now, but if I was to tell you you would lose them tomorrow, I can imagine you'd be thinking you were pretty doomed. You think, I'm absolutely screwed. Like, how much do you use your hands every single day? For them to just be gone tomorrow, you think, what am I going to do? Seriously. But at this point, honestly, it was just such a miracle that I was able to be alive. And of course, my family were worried about the future. This was going to be a life-altering operation, which would change the way I live my life forever. From this point onwards, nobody could really mentor me on exactly how to go about my life. And so that was going to come with a lot of adaptability. And that was something that I was going to have to tackle on my own. But at the end of the day, against the odds, I managed to pull through, I survived. So every single thing, every challenge that we were going to face in the future, we would just tackle that bridge when we came to it, pretty much. So this is where we get onto the fun part, because you might or might not have seen this graph before. This is the graph of exponential growth, which has really took lift off recently. And I don't know, I might be honestly the same age as some of you in this room, maybe older, maybe younger. But I was born arguably at the peak of it, you know? Like, phones were being introduced, everything was kicking off. So I was thinking, needing prosthetics in this day and age, I was well on my way to becoming Iron Man. Like, I was buzzing. I was like, what a day, what a time to be alive. But unfortunately, we were off to a pretty slow start. A start nonetheless, though. For example, this was my first ever prosthetic. Yeah, this is exactly it. I wish I had it here to show you, but this image will have to do. It was very, very close to this. So as you can see, there are about 3 prongs tied together by elastic bands, and these prongs are acting as the fingers. The elastic bands I find really funny, especially when you see how far we've come now. But this bionic arm wasn't actually a bionic arm at all. It wasn't technological, it wasn't mechanical. And if you see that hook on the thumb, that would basically attach to a big harness which would go over my upper body, and the way I would move sort of my arms and my shoulders would pull on strings which would then make these prong-like fingers go left and right in a sort of pinching motion. So, you know, it was very, very basic stuff. I wasn't a big fan of this prosthetic, mainly because I couldn't operate it. When I first got into prosthetics, I was literally only 2 at the time. So when you're given this, and you barely got bodily coordination when you're 2 years old, so then when you've got all that to think about, it just wasn't really going to happen for me. And also the strings were super, super hard to pull, so there was a long way to go. But the other reason I didn't really like this prosthetic was because I hated the way it looked. Like, I could not wear this prosthetic and accept it as a replacement for my hand. It didn't look like a hand. I honestly thought of it more of a weapon than a hand. And as much fun like I had running around chasing my sisters pretending that I was Captain Hook, like, this really wasn't beneficial for me. So it was at that point I decided to go private. Well, this is when I want to tell you about an anecdote which genuinely I feel like really damaged the way I looked at my difference and my disability growing up. I was super excited to get into prosthetics. Like I said, I was ready to become Iron Man, you know? It was a cool, exciting journey for me. But it actually wasn't like that in reality. When I was sitting in the room ready to collect my first ever prosthetic arm, you know, I was excited. But when they asked us to come in and gave me my prosthetic, they gave us it in a brown paper bag, as if something to be like really discreet about. And me and my family didn't really get this. We were just like, okay, a bit weird, bit sus, but like, okay, we'll deal with it. Still excited, still a prosthetic arm. So we took it in this brown paper bag and just tried to brush that aside. But as we were leaving, there was another woman who was in the waiting room waiting for her own prosthetic. And she came running over and she said, can I just ask, like, what exactly did they give you? So my mum opened up this brown paper bag. We weren't trying to be discreet about anything. And it was then that this woman gasped and she took a step back and she was just like, that is exactly what they gave me 25 years ago. 25 years minimum, that is, and nothing had changed. Nothing at all, not from the way it worked, not from the way it looked, not from like even the material perspective. Like everything was exactly the same. And that genuinely blew my mind. So I decided to make a goal. I really wanted to work with prosthetic companies to help develop an actual useful prosthetic hand for kids. This became the mission, you know, and I was excited and motivated to take on that challenge. Growing up, I was wearing all sorts of prosthetics, working with all sorts of different companies. But it was then I realised there really wasn't an awful lot out there. only really realistic designs that were honestly quite scary. I vividly remember one day being sat in a room, I think it was McDonald's to be honest, like I was just trying to eat some chicken nuggets and just every single person's eyes in that room being on me. And that's because the hand looked so realistic but moved so robotically. Like people were genuinely confused. They were like, is it real? Is it fake? What is going on? What is it? And this is bearing on something we know today as Uncanny Valley, which has been a big thing on TikTok recently as well. So a lot of people know this term now, thanks to TikTok, but Uncanny Valley is an eerie or unsettling feeling that some people experience in response to not quite human figures, like humanoid robots and lifelike computer-generated characters. And it was very much this sort of situation, because it looked real, but moved so strangely, it creeped people out. And it creeped me out as well when I forgot where I put it in the drawer one day and I just opened it up and see an actual severed limb. Like, that was scary for me. So I can only imagine what it was like to other people who didn't know the lore behind it. But technology was really, really just stuck at this time. Like, it was such a wake-up call to find out that actually the design they'd been going for so long kind of backfired. Like, they were making realistic prosthetics and they told me this was the reason. It was to make other people feel comfortable. It was never asking the user, what do you want or how do you want your prosthetic to look like? It was assuming, of course, you'd want to blend in. And it was also to make other people and the general public feel more comfortable around that person with a disability, which is obviously terrible in itself. But this is why before I even received a prosthetic at all, I was given a glove. And when we were given that, we're like, okay, brilliant, what does it do? And they were like, oh, well, nothing. It just looks like a real hand, so you can stick it on the end and look more normal out in public. You know, so that was crazy. It was a massive wake-up call to find out this design actually maybe wasn't going to work. But technology was really stuck around this time. I saw all these better prosthetic devices being made all around me, but the thing was that they were all for adults. And when we approached these companies asking if I could give any feedback, test anything like that, we were shut down time and time again with the same response, which was technology couldn't shrink down small enough to fit into a child-sized hand. So I was forced to leave it for a little bit. But in the meantime, I didn't want to just sit and do nothing about it and wait for technology to catch up to my crazy dreams and ambitions for laser shooting arms. So in the meantime, we decided to make a list of all the things I really wanted or didn't want in the next prosthetic hand. First thing being, hands didn't have to look so lifelike. Like I said, hands in the past had looked so realistic, it was scary. And I was never trying to hide the fact I had no hands, so why would we even go in that way? Secondly, they had to help with everyday tasks. These are being classed as a medical device at the end of the day, so for them not to help and be purely for aesthetics as well was also a problem, so we had to find a happy medium. And last but not least, they had to make you feel good. And this is where empowerment and fashion and technology and medical devices can all come into play, because there's all these physical benefits, but it's about the mental ones too, and I'm the first person to preach about how much these have helped me in my own mental health in my own life. I'm so excited now to talk about Open Bionics, who are the company that I work with here today, who make these bionic arms that I wear right now called the Hero Arm. And honestly, they were the first bionic arm company where I put the prosthetic on and I actually felt like they cared about what I wanted. I actually felt really empowered. But before I say anything else, I'm going to let you watch this little video.
With the DSX, we want it to be the window to the future.
What we're trying to do is change the prosthetics industry so we can offer affordable, functional and beautiful prosthetic devices to amputees.
I'm proud of being one-handed. It doesn't make me feel any different. But wearing this, instead of having people come up to me or give me the sincere look of, oh, you've lost your arm, they go, oh wow, this is fantastic. And I just like to see people have a smile on their face about it. That's what it's all about for me.
Because we're heavily promoting this kind of technology, some people really think we were producing, augmented arms. And some fans or some moms and so on were asking, where can I buy your arm? And unfortunately, we have to say, we're not building any arms, we're just a video game company. But that triggers, the thing where we say, we should do something.
It was a really natural fit when they got in touch with us. We were almost expecting it at some point, and we formed this idea to try and turn Adam Jensen's arm into a real-life bionic limb.
I was actually only born with my left hand, so I've never seen any different, and I've always wanted to have like a robotic hand. I've never said I wanted two hands, just a robotic one, just to feel more cyborg, because it's just so much cooler, especially being into sci-fi and comics and stuff.
I developed the first bionic hand when I was 17, just tinkering in my bedroom at my parents' house when I was younger. So when I went to university a few years later, I wanted to take the project a little bit further and found that bionic hands existed for amputees to wear, but they were extremely expensive. And so I used that angle as an excuse to be allowed to create a bionic hand for my final year project at university. And then after university was when I co-founded Open Bionics, and we began working on the same problem with a more kind of definitive goal of being able to offer these bionic hands to people at a really affordable price.
So this is a custom-built one for myself. We use sensors in the top and bottom of my arm. So if I tense my bottom muscles, it will close. And if I loosen up but tense upwards slightly, it will open.
We have a fantastic art director. His name is Jonathan Jack Beltet. This guy is a visionary. He's completely crazy. And the way we wanted to depict, a future world was that human augmentations couldn't be like just medical device. We wanted it to be super rewarding. People are wearing this kind of prosthesis in a fashionable way. For their sex, we never wanted to do some gimmicky big robot's hand and so on. We wanted something to touch upon, the high fashion, very refined design, something that looks very slick and very, you could be very proud to wear it.
And then you can change all the functions like that. Kind of cool.
At this point, we've made a semi-functional prototype. So we've made one that's functional and looks similar to Adam Jensen's hands. The next steps for us will be perfecting the functionality of it so that it works really nicely and it's very good at grasping objects. And then making the finish really nice so that it looks the part as well. The design files that we're working on in this project will be open source as well, so people will be able to download them. If they have a 3D printer, they'll be able to make themselves an Adam Jensen arm that will be functional and they'll be able to use it.
We don't want to cut this technology, this accessibility to people who have their both hands and so on. So we partnered with Intel with their RealSense division and Razer with their Stargazer division also.
Multiple points on the hand in motion is captured in real time. The result is a one-to-one mirroring between the user's hand and the bionic hand.
We want to show different people that the products and devices that they're seeing in science fiction, in gaming and in movies can become reality and can become reality very soon.
It's mind-blowing for a lot of people, but I cannot wait for the future of this.
Everything we're doing is somehow a new step forward. We now defining the future.
So that was the first video I actually saw of Open Bionics' work. So as you can imagine, I was super excited. Like finally, there was a prosthetic that wasn't designed to make it blend in, but they were talking all about it in the video. They wanted to make it fashionable. So that to me was amazing. They were also collaborating with the likes of Marvel and Disney at the time too. So literally my dream of becoming Iron Man was coming to reality, so I was buzzing. And this was the first project I worked on with Open Bionics. I went all the way to San Diego Comic-Con where I spoke on my very, very first panel with Open Bionics and the company who were behind the video game Deus Ex. And what's really funny and still reigns true is I can barely remember what I was like on this panel. I was 10 and all I was thinking was I don't know where I meant to look. I meant to look at the person talking, I meant to look at the crowd, I'm not sure. But one question they did ask me was, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And instead of saying anything really practical, the entire room laughed at me when I said, I want to have a walk-in wardrobe full of different hands and I want to switch them up to match my outfit. That's what little 10-year-old Tilly said, and it's getting to the point now where I'm literally living that dream, which is really, really cool. But yeah, I kept on traveling with Open Bionics, having so much fun with that, meanwhile giving brutally honest feedback and getting them the best they could possibly be for myself and other people all around the world. This is one of my favourite slides in my presentation, and a lot of people comment on it too, because it is quite literally the 10-year evolution in my first-hand experience with prosthetics. So as you can see, literally, visually, so much has changed. You've gone from a prosthetic on the left, which isn't technological at all, doesn't look like a hand, and yeah, it's tied together by elastic bands. Then you've gone in the middle, privately, super hyper-realistic prosthetic with freckles, nails you can paint, the lot. Absolutely crazy. That was based off of my older sister's hand entirely, because sisters are said to have similar hands, so they really went all out with that one. And finally, you got a hand on the right, which is actually not designed to make you blend in, but actually accentuate that difference, even with a little flashing light on the back. You know, and this is a 10-year evolution, and I'm actually going to pass around this prosthetic as well, just so you can have a look, because I'm going to do a little demo of it, and you can have a look and play around. But yeah, there was probably two differences within this entire evolution. Obviously, technology getting better played a massive role, but the other thing was Open Bionics were the first company to sit me down and just go, what do you want? That vital, crucial question that I'd actually never been asked before. In my entire experience developing prosthetics, nobody had ever just gone, what do you want? What do you want it to do? What do you want it to look like, you know? It was all these assumptions, and that's why I preach about Open Bionics and other companies so much. I urge them to do this and take it on. It's like, what do you want? You should be going back and forth with users. If you're a designer, you should be going back and forth with your client and really nailing down, what do you want? And yeah, this was just one question, which flipped absolutely everything on its head from that point onwards. Yeah, I messed this joke up, okay, but I was going to say, raise your hands if you think I wanted to look like everyone else and have flesh skin. Raise your hands if you think I wanted to look like Iron Man. Yeah, so yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm now ambassador for Open Bionics, and in my own right, travel around speaking about their work like I am here today, all while, you know, doing the actual work part of it, which is wearing them and giving feedback to make them the best they can possibly be for myself and others, so that one day we can agree with what was said in that video and be like, yeah, you know what, these are all the same as the sci-fi films now, and I genuinely don't think it's that far off, which is really exciting. Then I decided to make myself another goal. These prosthetics and the way people had reacted to them had given me so much confidence that I decided there was no need to hide it anymore. I decided to fulfill that vision I had of myself when I was thinking, where do I see myself in 5 years' time? Okay, playing dress up with my prosthetic arms. Let's make that happen then. So that's when I started posting on social media and matching my prosthetics to my outfit. So these pictures are pretty outdated, but it's over the years you can see how I was able to match my prosthetic arm to my outfit, and I took great pride in putting that on social media. It was just a fun little thing at first, and the feedback was absolutely amazing, which of course obviously makes me feel good, which is great, but there's also so many other limb-different people all over the world, and for them to see those positive comments too, and that representation after they probably went through a similar story of first, here's a glove, here's high-definition silicone, here's anything we can do to hide that difference, this is what was really important to me, to show people that you actually don't need to do that. And I actually gave a talk about this recently at an event, and I was talking about why I wear prosthetics covered in glitter now. This went viral on every single app that I put it on, and I've muted it, but you can find it on social media and things like that. But it was literally just about, you know, accepting those differences and finally being able to just come out here and cover it in glitter, and how empowering that was for me. And I've actually heard from other people saying that, like, after seeing my page and that, they realise they don't need to hide that difference either. And that's what it's all about. I think that's the deeper rooted thing within fashion, and what gives it so much meaning. It's confidence and it's empowerment. And that's exactly what I talk about, and my favourite thing to talk about. But I just want to let everybody know that fashion really does have a place at these tech conferences. I've travelled the world speaking at events like this, and there's been countless ones now where they've actually had a 3D printed fashion runway within the tech conference. Now, a lot of people are really scared of AI and things. They're worried that AI is going to take the jobs or whatever, and that's a very valid, you know, debate. And I've been at debates and heard both sides of the story. It's a very real thing. But the other thing is, I don't think it will take our jobs, take your jobs. I think, honestly, it will be a thing or a tool which really helps you broaden your creativity. And we talk about change being inevitable and things like that, but within that, we have a choice. And yeah, we can make that a beautiful, beautiful thing. And you can use it to stretch your imagination beyond the laws of physics even that we've had to, you know, abide by so far. I don't know if anybody saw the invisible dress generated by AI recently all over social media. So many things like that, which you never would have thought possible, will be now. And you've got, like here, you've got Wired, which is the biggest technology magazine, and you've got Vogue, the biggest fashion magazine. They're featuring the same thing. They're featuring the same stories. So that crossover is very much occurring. And yeah, I definitely recommend you jump on that because it's going to be really, really cool. I can't wait to see, you know, what people are going to come up with. But back to the social media thing. I think social media is a great method for collaboration. It's a great way for people to reach out to me. People who are interested in science and technology, fashion, little makeup tutorials, because I do those too on the side. People who are just interested in my story, want to be inspired, follow that journey. You know, everyone's welcome, and I love the community that have been built on there. And obviously, social media can get such a bad name as well, which, don't get me wrong, it can be a very scary place, especially over on Instagram Reels. But, you know, it can actually be a really good place. We will build each other up rather than constantly tear each other down. And one thing I've learned from speaking to other people in minorities as well is that being able to see that representation in themselves has made them feel so much better. And that's what it is now, just a big community of people who are connected and who can collaborate with each other, which is super exciting. But the big question is, I get asked this all the time, if I could go back in time and change what happened to me when I was so young and not lose my hands, would I do that? And like I said at the start of this presentation, it's no easy feat to have your hands amputated. But literally looking at my life now, all the lessons it's taught me, all the opportunities I've gotten and grabbed with both bionic hands. I do this unintentionally, you know, like, literally unintentionally. But yeah, I genuinely wouldn't take it back because I feel like I've learned so much. I feel like I'm able to showcase that on a platform, which is so important to me. And it's made me who I am, not like define me entirely, but definitely as, you know, that adversity has made me who I am. And that's something that I think is really important to acknowledge as well. Being in the tech world a lot today, you have two raging opinions. Nobody's friends. Like, either you've got the people who are like, AI is the best tool ever, you know, it's super cool, it's going to help us, it's going to be great. And then you've got the people who are like, oh my god, the robots are literally taking over, please stop, this is awful, make it stop, everything stop, right? But that's when I like to step in as a visual reminder that technology can actually do a lot of good, which we don't talk about enough. And within that, we have a choice, like I was saying earlier. We're not heading for inevitable dystopia, we are heading to inevitable change, but within that, you do have a choice. And I think we've got the best heads in this room when we're thinking, we're going to make that future pretty beautiful. I'm excited to see that. I'm full utopia. And so what I want to leave with you today is this same question. Like, what do you want? What is the change you want to see? We were talking about this earlier. Like, you can make those changes. And when we talk about technology, it's very focused on the youth, the future generations. You are that generation. So it's important that you learn about these things and take your power in there and create the future that you want to see. And sometimes, when you just think a little bit outside of the box, you can get so far with that. So just ask the questions. I wanted to end this on a couple quotes from some icons. We've got Marilyn Monroe, who says, imperfection is beauty, madness is genius, and it's better to be absolutely ridiculous than absolutely boring. Can't agree with that more. And we've got Tweaker Lawson, who says, there's no need to dress like everyone else. It's much more fun to create your own look. So on that note, feel free to reach out to me on social media. If you do have any designs yourself that you might want to share, I'd be down to see that. But thank you so much, and I hope you all have a good day.
Thank you so much for this terrific talk, Tilly.
Thank you.
I think there are a lot of questions or comments or observations, so I think we can just open to you guys. Yes.
Quick base.
First of all, you are very fashionable, and I'm so glad that you spoke today. I was wondering what like non-hand superpower do you want your bionics to have? Because like I know like a hand has a lot of functions, but like I guess in the sense of like you could have any power with a bionic arm, like what do you want your future arms to have?
Ooh, oh man, I want so much. Like seriously, like the CEOs of this company are so sick of me. But I just moved out in my own place and that, so I was like, safety reasons, it'd be really cool to have a taser in there. I was like, that would be sick, and I was being dead serious as well. And then Joel is funny, he's the CEO, and he seems like a CEO, you know, proper uptight CEO. But then he told me they were actually doing taser tests, and they had bionic arms with tasers, and I was like, you didn't call me? Like, what? But yeah, I mean, there's so much. Like, I've wanted projectors in the past, you know, projectors out the palm. I wanted Bluetooth speakers. I still want all these things. Let's be real. Personal assistant, like a little like Alexa or like Siri in there. I think would be really really cool. But yeah, I'm down to adopt all the powers. That's okay.
Hey. Yeah, thanks for your presentation. I'm just curious, the actual way you control the device, and would you say there's an art to controlling the device?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I'll do a little demo now because I thought I'll save this for the questions because it's always one that gets brought up. But yeah, so the way they work is they're completely muscle operated, and it's actually only 2 muscles that control the entire hand, from like a grasp to a pinch to a thumbs up, all of that. So you've got 2 sensors, one here, and I don't know where the hand is right now, but you'll be able to see it on the hand as well. You've got one like little rectangle this side on the inside of my arm, and one on the outside as well. This one controls the close, this one controls the open, and basically what I'm doing in there is just squeeze my muscles to close, flex to open, so you can kind of see what's going on like that. That's all I'm doing on the inside of the hand, and then it sort of follows those movements. And then, obviously, there's all these different grips and that you can do. So from that point onwards, a lot of people don't know this, it sort of works like a menu system. So basically, there's 6 grip modes in total. If I close my hand like that and open, if I try and open, like while it's still fully open, try and open some more almost, like you'll see that button flash green and the thumb come around, and that's basically me changing the grip mode. So, just to run you through them all, we've got a grasp like this, which I use obviously like shaking people's hands, thumbs up, airbrush, also thumb clicks in and out like that. Then change the grip mode, open all the way, open some more, you'll see the thumb come around. That's like standard. Close for like cup, anything like that. Then if I want to get even more grip modes, if I press the button once, you'll see it flash pink. Now I'll squeeze that same muscle, but only 2 fingers come down. So that when you say is there an art to it, there definitely is, and there's that consciousness of like where you're at in the menu system, which would be really cool to defeat somehow. But yeah, then if I open all the way, change grip mode, you got this one, which is the tripod grip mode. I call it peace sign. And then press it one more time in the medium to large hands. You've got the 1 finger pinch, and then you've got a little point like that as well. So you definitely have to be conscious while you're using it. And a lot of people try and like get a loophole around it, and like, yeah, but they're brain controlled. I'm like, yeah, technically, because everything comes from your brain, but there's a lot of like thought that goes into it.
I'm gonna sneak in one more sneaky question as I'm giving the mic back. If you could add one feature, what would it be?
Well, I've got all my fun features lined up, but like practically is important too. Probably some sort of haptic feedback. That would be a big thing. Like you can't feel or anything at the minute, so sometimes that's why I wear just the one, so I can feel with this arm. And the other thing is an automatic wrist. This is the best wrist I've ever had. It can like turn all the way around, but it is manual. And I actually am amputated at the wrist where I still have that wrist movement. So when I don't have it, I really notice it. So yeah, there are 2 things that I've been like, I would love to see that, and that would be a game changer.
I can also talk about
Go for it.
Thank you. You talked about the different modes, but how do you individually control each finger? Because I saw in some of the videos that you can change
Yeah.
the different signals.
Yeah, so they are actually, that was how they used to work. So that is literally just a really old prototype, which is funny. Like, I forget when they're even like that. Sometimes I watch interviews of myself and I'm like, how am I doing that with my fingers? But it's just because it's changed over time. But you can, a lot of people always ask, like, you know, you can do individual fingers, particularly the middle one is what they're curious about. But like, yeah, you can also just like hold fingers open. I'm not sure I can like suggest that, but I do that on the daily and they've lasted me long still. So you are limited to the menu system, but not really. And sometimes if I want to like really show off, if I double press it, this is called like recalibration. And so that'll make them move individually. So sometimes if you're seeing that, that's what's happened there. But yeah, as far as like using them every day, you have to mainly stick to the menu.
I have a question. Thank you so much for this presentation. It really strikes me that you seem to have two different audiences. There is all the tech geek, all the CEO of these AI companies that you engage with in a certain way, but you also do the makeup tutorials.
Yeah, it's really funny.
And you have an audience of girls, young women, and that perhaps the conversation is more about this huge amount of confidence that you're able to project and remarking on the fact that a radical difference that the body expresses is really good.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, how do you bridge, or do you have opportunities to bridge those two audiences?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still trying. I do say, I think I'm like the one makeup tutorial some grown man would actually sit through, you know, because they're like interested in the dexterity of the fingers. So like, I feel like, you know, it's funny when I feel like I would attract a bunch of like little girls, and I do, but then I look at the analytics, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of old men here as well, you know. Yeah, it's really, really weird, but yeah, that's why I like to have like my sort of different events and things like that. And it's really cool now, you know, I mean, people are doing like innovation festivals as well, and I really like them. I've moderated some of them, which is really cool because I get to learn all the techie stuff. But they also have like the more engaging stuff like the fashion runways and things like that, and that's really great to see. And honestly, I would love to put my own event on like one day, like very far in the future, but which really sees that like sort of collision and celebrates it all together. I think it'd be really interesting.
I mean, you mentioned in one sentence fashion, technology, medical devices, and empowerment.
Yeah.
And that sort of assemblage of things together, it's pretty unique, and I really, really wish for you to host that event.
Yeah, definitely. Big goal of mine in the future.
Any more questions, please? Okay, gentleman here and then someone over there.
Also about that event in the future, if anybody wants to design anything, let me know.
Hello, thank you so much for the inspiring talk. I want to ask you, like, from the perspective of me as a philosopher, like, I'm quite interested in what is body and how to think about body. And now with the students also here at CSM, we're thinking a lot about like what's the difference between something that you wear on you and something that is you, yeah? And I just want to ask you, like, maybe a little bit of a philosophical question, like, where does the body end for you? How do you understand, like, is the bionic arm something you wear or something that is you?
That is a really interesting question. And I feel like I've had to distinguish that as well throughout my social media a lot. Because, like, you know, like I've been introduced for a long time as like bionic girl or something like that. And that's when I think it kind of seeps into your identity a little bit too much, maybe, you know. And it's very important to me that I keep, you know, my own identity shining through as well, because at the end of the day, I'm a lot more than the prosthetics that I wear. And yeah, I'm very open and talking about it all the time because I'm passionate about it. But that's what I really like social media for, is like I can come to tech events and answer the questions people, you know, have. But then when you go on my social media, you'll realize that it's not all about that, you know. And I try and let like my own personality and, you know, the other parts of my life, like the hard times, shine through as well, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows and things like that. So yeah, like I've definitely got better at finding that balance, I feel. Because at the beginning I was really like, yeah, bionic girl, let's go. But like now I'm like, no, I'm Tilly, but I also wear bionic arms, you know. So that's definitely been a thing, but I think I'm getting a grasp on it now. I hope that answers your question.
I have one more question about your hand movements. So as people talk with their hands or use that, I see you do that as well.
Yeah.
Is that something you actively do, or you have to like learn to kind of adapt to, or do you just stay away from that?
It's kind of, I genuinely, like, I'm trying to think back to when I first started doing it, because you're right, like, I'm literally like this all day, every day. And I'm also like that when I'm not wearing the hands as well, which is a bit weird, but, like, I do still gesture like that, and that's because I can still feel my fingers to a certain extent. Like, when they amputate, they tie the nerve endings down, so you can still feel them to a certain extent, which is weird, and it could be completely different to how you feel your fingers. Obviously, I'll never know, because I haven't got the other hand to compare it to, or I don't remember. So yeah, I do sort of feel my fingers, so my entire life, I forget I don't have fingers, basically, when I'm talking and stuff like that. And it even got to the point where, like, I'd be at school, we'd be taking a selfie and whatever, and I'll immediately, like, throw a peace sign. And what does a peace sign look like? It looks like this. And my friends are like, what is going on? What's going on there? But it's actually funny because the more people get to know me, they pick up on those mannerisms too, and it's almost like they see them as well. So yeah, it's really strange. But as far as like wearing the prosthetics to like do different gestures and things like that, it's not something I'm thinking about to be like, oh, I'm gonna flex on these people and show how like articulate I am. Like, it genuinely just happens. And I don't remember that ever being something I learned. It's just something that kind of happens. Yeah, and it was really cool to actually look down and actually see the fingers doing what I was doing in my head for the first time. That was like a whole thing.
Hi.
Hello.
Just a good question. Have you experimented with other ways to control the prosthetics? Freelance ways, or even just
Yes. Yeah.
What's the impression you experience?
Well, I think changing the way they're controlled is honestly the next level at the minute. Like, these are myoelectric, and I've worn myoelectric prosthetics in the past where it's been these two muscle sensors for a long time. So I'm so down to try like the next thing. And I actually got to try like an EEG helmet the other day, where, you know, they have all like the gel in your hair and stuff, and they try and track your neurons. Basically, I was able to try that the other day, and I'm currently working with a research institute down in Bath who are working on that, as well as haptic feedback. So that's really exciting. And yeah, the other thing that people are talking about is more sensors, but in different places. And I was speaking to them about this as well, like potentially putting it on like your toe or something like that. And yeah, it would be weird, because you're gonna have to be then thinking about what I'm doing with my hand muscles and what I'm doing with my toe muscles. But I think I'm ready for the next challenge, and I just can't even get out of my head, like giving a presentation like this and having it look so seamless and subtle that nobody picks up that I'm like rotating my wrist with my toe. Like, you know, I feel like that's something that with practice you could definitely master. And so I'm really excited for all the other ways that, you know, people are going to be like tracking sensors and things like that. It's really interesting.
Hi, Tilly. My name is Xueqing. I'm so honored to hear your story and your journey. And you're the really wise and adaptable one. Thank you very much. So my question is, I think today we have lots of young innovators, maybe the future, the young engineers. I'm curious about, like, based on your previous journey and experience, when we're talking about a more inclusive or community, I'm thinking what kind of advice you will give to the young innovators who have the interest or have the passion or goal to keep exploring, to invent their assistive technology in the future. For instance, when we're talking current beautiful thing about liquid one, maybe we very easily to exclude those people who doesn't have any disability. So I'm thinking maybe you can give us a little bit of advice about how we can be more adaptable to make the design, make people feel more natural with this kind of arms or whatever thing, make people feel more natural to all the background people.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I think the first step is the engineering and the manufacturers and the designers just caring about that for a start, because for so long they just didn't even bother to ask the question. So the fact that you just asked that question is a great sign, and we want everybody to ask the question. We want everyone to go back and forth, like know that it's a process, and it's like what you were saying earlier, it's about being curious and just putting yourself out there, not being shy and asking the question, you know? I think that's super, super, super important, and just make sure you're trusting, and obviously don't get butthurt and sad if people are brutally honest, because, you know, that's how we grow at the end of the day, and that's what I do. I just rip them apart, you know? So yeah, it's like, it's really important just to be open and have more conversations, I think. Like, have the conversations, get it clear in your head, and then get your head down and like work on it, and like go back and forth, prototypes, that's a whole stage. When these prosthetics were in their prototype stage, they didn't even have ventilation. And that's because the engineers had never tried it on and thought, oh, this needs some air in here, it's really uncomfortable, because they've never tried it on. So we went to San Diego Comic-Con, 40 degrees Celsius, no ventilation whatsoever, and when there's no ventilation, that is carnage for a couple of reasons. Number one, it can be painful. Number two, basically what happens is your arm's going to swell up on the inside. Like, so there was literally moments where, like, I'm here, Sammy's like trying to pull the arm off. We're both trying not to fall into the pool, and it was like a whole thing. And it was just because, obviously, that was the first time they actually got a user in to test it. And I was like, this actually isn't wearable at all without ventilation. And now you see all these holes and stuff. That is the ventilation, which is getting better and better and better with every design. So yeah, it's a back and forth. It's the don't be afraid of failure, I think, and just like literally just go full force into the deep end and take action on it. I hope that answers. Cool, thank you.
I was curious to know, because social media is such a big part of your life, how do you actually swipe on a phone? Are you able to use your arm to be able to do that?
Yeah, so I am testing at the minute, and I was unsure about this, but whatever. The secret's between me and you. I'm testing at the minute a touch sensitive when it comes to like technology. Finger, they're kind of limited right now with the nails that I've decided to stick on the end, which is really stupid, but they, at the minute, have tried some like touch-sensitive implant thing, which I'm testing at the minute. Gonna be real though, it's not that great at the minute, and I've told them as well, like, basically it would really help, and this is something as well, they would never know unless they asked me about it. I've said it would help if the finger bent back a bit, because at the minute, it's like very like, you can bend it forward, but it stops at the back there. And so sometimes when you're on the phone like that, not only is your arm at a really funny angle to be able to do it, but like sometimes the surface will touch the top rather than the bottom, and so the finger will just bend or skid around like that. So there's a couple of upgrades even to like that needs doing. At the minute, when I'm on my phone, honestly, a lot of the time, I'll wear just the one hand, and I'll hold the phone like that and then swipe without, which a lot of people are really shocked by, because they're like, how can you use a keyboard like that? But I think growing up in this day and age, you know, texting your mate is like one of the main things you do in life, so I just had to figure it out. Same with writing, like I write without, I type on a laptop without, I use my phone without, I spent a large portion of my life without any sort of prosthetics, so adapting is something that like my body really had to do, and so I'm happy to say that I can still scroll on Instagram like the rest of you.
One more back, and then I'll take one from online as well.
Yeah, so yeah, like the standard things that I learned to do without, for example, like a keyboard. If I was going to use a keyboard with these, it would be individual finger moment, which just isn't really that great. And the other thing is that like I genuinely can't do at the minute, which would solve so many problems in my life, is tie my hair up. Yeah, makeup. So yeah, makeup I do with the hands. I could do it without the hands too. So I've literally learned to do it both ways. But obviously I get the additional tech bro crowd when I do it with the bionic arms, so that's good. But yeah, like tying my hair up is like borderline impossible with these, I want to say, because it's just the rubber. Like, not right now, but that may or may not be something. Where is the hand right now, actually? Well, it's coming. It's coming. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys? Do you think it's heavy? No? Because sometimes people are like, oh, that's really heavy, and other people are like, this is really light. So I don't even know, like, what the general opinion is.
Do your different arms weigh different?
No, they don't. I don't think so. I mean, mainly the majority of the weight is in the hand, and the hands are the same size. Okay. So, you know, like, that's that. The socket is the light part. So that's the only thing that's really different. But yeah, so there's a couple of things that I still can't do, like tie my hair up. That's a big one. Oh, thank you. Thank God for that.
Right, Tilly, I'll just take one from online here. We've got a scientific question, so I'll read it out. With the advancements in the prosthetic hardware, but the lack of development of the control systems, how do you feel about implantable electrodes in order to access high-fidelity control signals?
Oh, don't get me started.
Deep one.
Conversation. My mum, I'm 19, right? And my mum was really worried. You know, when people turn 18, it's like, oh, legal drinking age, blah, blah, blah. I can go to the club now, whatever. When I turned 18, my mum was like, you best stay away from those implants. Because, like, you know, like, I was keen, especially at that age. A little bit more concerned about it now, looking at the, you know, Elon Musk at the minute. But yeah, like at the time I was like, wow, this is sick. And then obviously I've been put off it and I wouldn't let that man touch my brain. But, you know, like if it was someone all holy behind it, I'd be like, yeah, chill, let's go for it. You know, I think it's one of them that is it's surprising how many people are down to put that in their brain, you know, able-bodied people and everything. So there was a point where I was like, yeah, all for it. Now I would like think about it a bit more, but it's definitely exciting.
Is there one more in the room? Thank you.
Hi, Liz. If you could, thank you so much for the presentation. It was very inspiring and lovely. So my question was about the social support side. So along the way, we're trying to figure out what to do. And any social support that you receive, it could be like community group or government or sort of institutions. Is there any concerns about the support you receive?
Yeah, I mean, right in the beginning, obviously the NHS have been amazing, like literally saved my life, and they were very like back and forth in the beginning with me, and I was part of like other things, you know, like my school were very happy to jump on like adapted like things for me. I honestly found I didn't really need them, but the support was there and that was nice. Like now I've moved out properly, like that's something maybe I'd go back to. Like now I literally do everything on my own. I'd be like, oh, I could do with, you know, like I've seen somebody have like, you know, when you're like chopping tomatoes or whatever, she's a quadruple amputee and she's just got a board with spikes on that like hold the tomato. So it's just like simple things like that, you know. And so there are people that I can go to for that sort of thing. So it is wise that I do that, I think, actually now. I've moved out properly. So yeah, that is good. And my family have been a massive support, honestly.
One more question.
So if there was like a responsive AI in your arm, what would be the first thing that you would ask it?
Ooh. Oh God. Mate, I think I would just cut off all my friends at that point. I just start chatting to my arm, you know. But like, gosh. Oh gosh. You've stumped me, like, I need to think about that one. But one thing I definitely want to do, they now are attached to like a Bluetooth app, which is really cool. And one thing I would love to customize is the way it turns on. So if I turn this off and I turn it back on again, like after it being fully off, I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but it plays a little tune. Wait till this goes. Basically, it plays a little tune. And I think that you should be able to customize that in the app and like have it like say like, good morning, Tilly, or something like that. That's what I would love it to say to me every day, pretty much. This one is frozen, so I might have to use that one up there. Well, I'll find you and I'll show you later. Oh, there we go. Right, ready? Everyone be quiet, listen. Did you hear that? Yeah, I want to customize that, and I've said that. I think that would be really cool. So if I had a little AI person, I would like customize how they greet me. Hello, master, or something like that. No, I'm kidding. That's a great question, though.
Should we squeeze one more in?
Oh, we're good.
Oh, I have another question. I'm gonna be really quick. I was really struck by the image of the so-called evolution of the prosthetics, and something I was not aware, of course. What you said about the original prosthetic, the very rudimentary one, and the silicone one made in order to blend in, so to make other people comfortable, not you. That's something that really never occurred to me. So I was quite impressed and really made me think that technological evolution is not even about technical development. It's really about the vision and the imagination that somehow someone can create. And I think you really show that incredibly well.
Thank
So
you.
it was not the question, it was just an observation. We can go to the question now.
I just have a little question. Wondering, thank you so much. This has been great. I have to start smiling. This has been like really helpful and inspiring. So you've done it. You've like absolutely done it. But little question. Is it like after college you charge it, like come in, like what's the?
Yes, so you see this little chunk here? That's where the battery sits. So there is a battery. I'll actually take it off so you can see. And their cases are just magnetic, which is why it's so easy to like switch them around, change colours. But yeah, here's the battery, and you just plug that in there. You get a little charging port. Just plug that straight into the wall. And I know the next question is how long does it like last? So they usually last like a day and a half or something. And you can also check the battery by holding the button down. So for example, that's on green because I've charged it today. I know the other one's on amber though, so if it started vibrating by now, I won't be surprised. So that's what happens. Like it'll be green, it'll be amber, and then when it's amber, about to go red, it'll start like flashing, like vibrating at you, basically screaming at you to like plug it in. So yeah, it lasts about a day and a half, which is good, and you can get a full charge in like 3 hours. So that's okay.
Do you sleep with it?
No, I don't. And the best way I can describe it, been asked this before, and I described it really well if I do this to myself. It's kind of like sleeping with shoes on. Like you could do it if you wanted to. Like I could sleep in them, but like I've never. Oh, I probably have. I think I have actually, but ideally no.
One more. Okay, yes.
Mm-hmm.
What can you envisage in terms of fashion that can make it more fun and enjoyable for you to use?
So much. They're all like, so there's 3 bits that clip on and off at the minute. You got that one. This is what it looks like naked, but there's usually a design on here too. And then this is like, this pops off as well. So there's 3 parts at the minute, but you're right, like it would be cool to customize more of it. Like for example, I think, I've thought this before, having some sort of like, it looked like glass or something would be amazing. I'm actually going to spoil it for everybody, but I really wanted to do like a spin-off of Cinderella for like Halloween one time and like have a glass hand and lose it or something, which I thought was really creative at the time, and let's be real, it kind of is. Yeah. But yeah, I thought that would be really cool, and I spoke to them about it, and I was like, could you make it look glass? And they were like, Tilly, shut the hell up, like, seriously. But like, yeah, at the minute, it's like this boring black 3D print, like, fingers, and the socket is all black. So if you could customize that, that would be cool. Yeah, and I do put rings on it. And nails now as well. Little acrylic nails. So yeah, that was really cool. And yeah, I had a ring that also had like my bank details on it. Like it worked like Apple Pay. So that was really cool because it could just like pay with it as well.
What's the current range of movement of the wrist with it? As I know it's manual, but can you just rotate it, or does it also have some?
Not yet, but that is something that they've been working on for the next one, which is coming out sometime this year. Like this arm is very much at the end of its lifespan now. They're ready to launch Hero Arm 2. So I'll be doing so many more talks when they come to fruition. But yeah, it's like the normal like human amount as well, like flat like that way and flat like that way. Or you see other prosthetics that can go all the way around and things like that. These ones can't at the minute, although that would be pretty cool as well. But yeah, an up and down wrist would be really cool, and making all of it automatic would be amazing.
What sort of designs in your everyday life do you find inclusive? Sort of like that tomato board, but maybe something you actually use.
It's kind of hard because I honestly don't use that much. I wear these every day, and like that's pretty much the only assistive device that I use regularly, to be honest. So I'm not sure I can answer that, but I think I'll be. Oh, scissors. I can use. Well, I've learned how to use scissors as they are actually, which you probably think is mad. Like, how have you done that? But again, adaptability is mad. But I used to have like scissors on like a kind of like it looked like a, I don't know, like a skate park kind of beat. It was like a triangle basically. And then the scissors would sit on the triangle and it was like on a board. So I just have to press it up and down and slide the paper in, if that makes sense. That was really good. But yeah, now I just use normal scissors, but it's not as easy. So yeah.
There is another question over there.
I've got one question. Hey, you mentioned that you're reaching fashion and tech audiences with your work, and obviously you're here today in an academic environment. Are there any other audiences that you really want to reach with your work?
Oh, that is a good one. Honestly, it's really interesting. Like, I feel like there's been a couple of times, honestly, where I thought I have to niche down on one or the other, like, because it is so varied, but that's just not something that I ever wanted to do. And because I've been thinking about, or like been told maybe like niche down and like that would get you further or whatever in a quicker amount of time, I haven't really thought about like other sort of audiences, but I think at the minute I'm doing a lot of uni talks recently, and that's really amazing. I think the main people I want to, not to discriminate, but like the main people I do love to talk to is like the youth of today and things like that, because obviously I got into it all when I was really, really young. But also technology and AI is like one of those fields which is so like gonna take off with this next generation. I think it's really important that they learn about it. So like they're my ideal crowd. But yeah, I just want to reach everybody all over the world and make it accessible to everybody as well. That's really important to me.
Yeah, I can just shout. So obviously, like the hand that you have is kind of based on a human hand, but have you ever tried in prosthetics which are maybe not human-based and have 5 digits?
Yes. Yeah, this is interesting because people recognize, they're like, well, you're saying they're not realistic hands, and yeah, they don't look like skin, but they still follow the anatomy of a hand. So there is actually other options, and I've used them too. Open Bionics produced another sort of strain of this called the Hero Flex, which is specifically for certain activities. So I have one to play the drums, which is really cool, and I have another one to play piano, which isn't actually from Open Bionics. The one to play the piano is literally a DIY thing. It's made out of a toilet roll tube and a garden rake, and it lets me play the piano. So yeah, I definitely do have other prosthetics, which I use that on, fully like fingered, fully fingered like this. But I do like these ones the most, I feel.
I've said one more like 4 times now. Does anyone else fancy it? Good.
Is that something you could, sorry, one more, yeah. Is that something that you could maybe request, I guess, is that you have different sort of hands or different types of
that's
hands?
exactly what it is. With the Hero Flex, you get given the socket and then you buy the different attachments. Yeah.
Claire, point me what you're pointing at.
Well, and then there is a question over there.
Okay. I feel like it's kind of been answered, sort of, as we've gone through, but I was sort of just interested. So, so you have a close relationship with Open Bionics. I just wanted to see, like, from what you've experienced and what you've seen, where do you see, like, the advancements in prosthetics going, but also under the lens of sort of, like, suits and the projects at hand. So where would you like to see advancements in not only prosthetics, but in technology around this area by sort of 2050? Also, just to add on, you're a fantastic storyteller. Like, it was really, really cool. Like, this whole thing was great. Thanks.
Thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, so let me think. What was the question again? What was the question again?
where would you see the prosthetics?
Why do I say technology? Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, I want what's currently available to be accessible to everybody, and this is where I lose some people, I do feel like it should be prioritized for the people who have like limb differences and things like that. Because some people at these crazy tech events, they like jump on board, they're ready to do like backstreet alley, they're ready to take their own hands off and, you know, start getting upgraded and things. I'm like, well, I don't know if we're quite there yet. But I do think that, you know, people who, you know, are facing some sort of challenge should be prioritized in that respect. Like, I always talk about technology for the good, and that's what I want to see produce more of. Like, the phones are good enough at this point. I feel like we should be focusing on medical devices. Like, I talk a lot about innovation and technology in the medical fields, because that's what's really changing lives, like exoskeletons and stuff like that. That's where I want to see technology evolve into. And then to like make my own heart happy, fashion and technology and 3D printing and that is great as well. But genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I want it to be like all medical based, at least to begin with, and just make sure that everybody lives an even life first before people start getting crazy.
Hi Tilly, I'll just shout. That was so interesting, thank you very, very much. I'm from the fashion department actually. We've just finished a project for adaptable clothing with amputees and people with different bodies. I just wondered, with the, could you fasten a zip, say on a puffer jacket? You can do that.
Yes, so yeah, like I did these are on the NHS now as well, and as part of the NHS trials, they made me do all these crazy tasks and things like that. So yeah, you can, like fasten a zip. I would say probably not buttons, like little buttons, but then again, this is coming from me who wears 2 bionic arms. Like, the majority of the customers have only 1. You know, so when I'm looking at somebody and they're missing 1 hand and they're like, will this be beneficial for me? I'm like, heck yeah, like go for it, because it's just that extra bit of grip and like you can do, you know, things with your other hand and it helps with balance and everything like that. Whereas for me, and this is I think as well why it makes me such a good guinea pig and person to test it, is when I'm wearing both of them, I'm literally relying on the both of them. You know, and there's still days even today where I would opt to have 1 no hand and 1 bionic hand. You know, so. Yeah, it's one of them, and you can do things like that. You can do zips, like people be tying the laces and everything like that. So it's okay. Good.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Yay!
Thank you. Thank you so much. Inspiring talk by a very charismatic storyteller for the 21st century.